How about special discounts for the next 2 weeks?
Hi, I'm Peter Gould, co-creator and executive producer.
Hi, I'm Norberto Barba, the director of 50% Off this episode.
I'm Alison Tatlock. I'm a writer-producer on the show, and I wrote this episode.
I'm Rhea Seehorn, and I play Kim Wexler.
I'm Michael Mando, and I play Nacho.
I'm Mark Freeborn, production designer for season 5.
So Norberto, you have a kind of a complicated teaser here. How did you figure this thing out?
Well, it's interesting because I remember one of the first things you told me, Peter, was, listen, the cinema language of this teaser could deviate from anything else that you've established, that it could be its own living, breathing thing in and of itself. And so I hooked up with Marshall Adams, our director of photography, and I said, listen, let's go nuts with this. Let's feel what it's like going on a multi-night binge of drugs and frivolity and nuts, and let's have fun, and let's try to get a visceral feel for it. So we started playing with frame rates and different lenses and Dutch angles and just craziness, and it was a lot of fun. But what I wanted to anchor with was the end of the teaser, where we go and it becomes suddenly quiet. That sort of quiet you get with when you have the worst hangover the next day, and it's quiet around you. And I wanted they steal a gnome during this this craziness, and I had this feeling that it would be great to end on the gnome, with the car going from right to left and taking us to the gnome, so that later on we'll see at the end of the episode a car going left to right and ending on an ice cream cone. And I just thought it would really bookend the episode. But it's this to me, Peter, was like, you gave us so much license to just go nuts, and I think it feels like we go nuts.
You sure did. And by the way, Skip McDonald did, of course, a wonderful job cutting this. He's a special talent with this great footage that you guys shot. And that song is a crazy. I would have. This is not generally what I listen to. It's Chai. It's a female, an all-female Japanese band. Which Thomas Gould and the great people that he works with found this crazy thing, and once we heard it, I think we knew we were in love.
And these actors, Sasha and Morgan, were so amazing. They just brought incredible energy every time they showed up on set.
Norberto, how many pieces is the montage? How many pieces did you do?
Well, it felt like every night that we were shooting, we would shoot a day's work and then get a couple of pieces from the teaser, and we broke it down. I think it was, like 12 sequences, and
you added some that were not scripted. Also, that was Norberto's idea, to have the dog, have them running from the dog. It's always great to just throw in a dog when you already have something really complicated.
The thing that I get a kick out of is there's the ghost of Jesse Pinkman in those two boys.
Yeah, I feel that.
There was an actress that was running, jogging, and she had a ponytail very similar to Kim Wexler. Is that accidental?
Yes.
It was an accident?
I think so. You're talking about in the...
at the end of the montage. Mm-hmm.
At the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's poor Nacho.
This is scary.
Michael, so how do you prepare for a scene like this?
It's kind of tricky because you don't want to. You want to be really sleeping, and then you want it to surprise you. So I think that you prepare by trying to sleep.
Just be as actually restful as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And then let it surprise you.
And the actress Poppy.
Yeah. I really wanted to give a shout out to Juan Carlos Cantu, who plays Nacho's father, Emmanuel Varga. I think he's such a an amazing actor who can do so much with so little, and is such a great presence on and off set. Such a generous artist, and I just hope that this opens up a lot more stuff for him and he gets a lot more work.
He is the real deal.
And you guys are so wonderful together.
Oh, thank you.
We love writing to that relationship.
And Ray and Jeremiah, of course, coming back from Breaking Bad, also fantastic guys. They're so chilling and intimidating and hard to read as they're supposed to be. You know, when you're playing opposite them, you always have a sense that they're kind of in cahoots with Gus, and they know something you don't, and it's always kind of throws you off center a little bit.
And Michael, how do you prepare for this? I mean, you're struggling against those guys. How does that work? Is that a stunt?
No, I think that we were lucky because you guys hired really strong kind of stunt guys, so they were just like, go for it, and we just kind of wrestled in the back seat, and they were kind of all I think good sport to just kind of have fun and play in the back. We were just kind of like wrestling, I guess, but it was safe, you know, and they were great as well. We were exhausted by the time we finished doing this. We shot the close-ups kind of like 3 months later, right?
Yeah. I think we might have picked up some extra pieces. That's possible. Yeah.
No, this particular shot was actually a projection on the wall in front of the truck on stage. We just dropped a little piece, needed a little piece to insert there.
Oh, really?
Match is great.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great match.
That's amazing.
All this stuff that you're seeing was shot out of location. It was like the store is actually a painting.
Oh, there's so many good locations in Albuquerque, and this we've been trying to use this one for years.
And I should say, Mark, so glad to have you on this commentary. Mark was our production designer for most of Breaking Bad, and he came back for season 5 of Better Call Saul, and boy, I just loved working with you on both shows. But this was especially nice for me because having you back as in my role as showrunner, it gave me, I have this wonderful feeling that somehow everything was going to fall into place, and it sure did. My God, you did just wonderful work.
Thank you. Well, say it's easier to work with family. Now here's a shot. This is one of the things that knocks me out about Saul and Breaking Bad is generally you open with a master. We always close. And it just sets a whole different visual tone because everything up to that point is personal, and then you reveal where they are. It works very well for this show.
What was interesting about that prior scene is that it's all about subjectivity, and later on we have another scene that's Lalo's subjectivity. And there's so much tension that's created, and then we release the tension with that big wide shot.
Yes, exactly.
Do you want to talk about how hard it is to make all the right people in the mirror and not the wrong things, Norberto?
Norberto's kind of a mirror genius, actually.
To not see cameras or the crew, but to see Bob exactly.
Yeah.
Like that. Those were hard.
Yeah, the closet doors were tough because they were double. There were like 4 mirrors, and then once we got past the closet doors, then this was fine.
A lot of mirrors,
and you can see the wall. You can see the walls replaced there. Obviously, that's a fly wall, and we rigged the camera in there, which was always very cool.
Can you hold for a moment, Kim?
Peter, could you tell if you didn't know who edited the episode, could you know if it was who was the editor just by looking at it?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know that I could. I've been through with the editors, I've been through probably, every frame a few times. So I kind of remember more like just how they hold themselves in the room and the kinds of ideas that they have. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I don't know if I could nail the signature down, because especially our two main editors this season are both just fantastic. And all our directors give them really interesting, different material. It's one of the things that I pride myself. I think we all pride ourselves on for the show is that we don't give the directors a style book and say this is what the show looks like. You don't. It's all about telling the story. There are things that we like, but we're always trying to move it forward. And this next scene it's a very tricky scene. This next one, it's so much is now when you read a scene like this, Ray, or any scene, what's your process after once you've read the script the first time? What do you do next?
Doesn't hurt to look, though.
Well, I start breaking down like line by line what her, super objective is, objective, tactics, all that like script analysis stuff. And then, you and I talked on another episode that had a more obviously intimate scene, also written by Alison Tatlock, but scenes like this will scare me sometimes where I'm like, I want to make sure I don't play a mood or a sentimentality. And instead I stick to what the objective is and what information she's seeking, which was it's a little difficult in this scene because he's taken her off track of what she was planning on doing. So she's trying to figure some things out. And, I never want to give away too much either because the show allows a lot of nuance. So making sure that I as the actor, play my cards as close to my chest as Kim would is sometimes something I have to make sure I pay attention to because I'm a goofball that like you can tell what I'm thinking from a mile away, but Kim isn't.
But you play that veiled frustration so well. I mean, how does she tolerate this guy? And there's just this nice edginess when you guys are interacting.
And the nuance on your face is remarkable.
Yeah. Thank you.
To be so reserved and expressive at the same time.
Thank you. And the thing is, she's angry at him because of episode 1. She's mad at him, and I never want to not allow this character to be angry at him and have a real issue. But like any relationship, she does still love him, so she's navigating that, trying to figure out what her next move is. Now, you guys cut some stuff out of this, and I was curious why. There was some dialogue that's there that had to do with him describing how they would marry different parts of society and legal professions, and we'd all be here in a room having a party. Do you guys remember that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll speak to that because Alison wrote, it's all great dialogue, but the funny thing is sometimes you watch a scene in post and then you realize, the point, I kind of get it. I feel it already.
Right.
And then that's when, if we can, we sometimes lift a little bit of dialogue. It's because, we're not editing the scene that we wrote. We're editing the scene that you guys acted and shot and all that other.
Right.
And it's,
right.
It's part of the process.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Cause I watch it and I go, oh, I get the sentiment that I was playing on those other lines from these. So I wonder if that's why they made that cut. And it sounds like it was. So that's really interesting to me.
Probably Norberto knew, they're going to cut those lines. He probably knew that a mile away, but
he has to dutifully shoot it anyway. But I will say that
he chose to.
Yes, he chose to. I never feel sad when dialogue is cut in post. I love sitting in on post. It's an incredible part of the collaboration, and it always feels right when you can make a less is more choice.
Yeah, I like it. It's interesting to see the decisions you guys make. This shower was so small. I hope there are photos somewhere that show the crew stacked on top of each other behind Bob. Like they were our camera ops were on ladders and stuff inside of this thing with us.
Shut off.
Maybe.
Hey, quit it.
I like that giggle.
I have a question for Norberto and Peter. When you guys, so Norberto, as a director, when you're shooting something, I imagine you have a sense of what shot you think you're more or less going to open with and where you're going to be around where and at the end. Am I right?
Yes.
Before we leave this scene, I just want to say Audrey as the realtor, what is it, Audrey Walters, right? She was so great. She was so much fun, and she was so game for anything.
What a look.
Yeah. When you go into a scene and we've already toned it, we know what the intention is, what the scene's about, who driving the scene. And so there's a definite rhythm to the scene, and I'll open a certain way, but I'll always offer options for the editing room. And so that if they find something that works better, they can use that. But I always have this plan. The plan for that previous scene for me, I was influenced by Deserto Rosso and by Antonioni, where this couple goes into this house and they're discovering the house, and the house itself becomes a character. And the design of that house, actually the house really became emblematic of where they were at that point in their relationship.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And there was some really great design there. There was only 2 colors actually in most of that sequence.
And my follow-up question would be, how much, Peter, do you guys go and try different options for like the beginning? Like, do you go and try 3-4 different beginnings? Do you spend that much time trying different things in the editing room?
I would say if there's something occurs in the editing room, if something occurs, then we'll try it. That's the wonderful thing about editing, is that you can try things and then discard them very easily. And it's absolutely. But usually it's just to see if we can make the moment land a little bit better, or make room for something that's occurred to us, or if you guys in the cast have done something that maybe we want to emphasize or underline or just feature, those are all things that change it. And and there's a lot of it is just, it's pure instinct, I will say. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you.
And these two guys, I love the fact that Lalo you can tell he really does adore Hector.
Yeah.
And these two guys are so great together.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I watch the scenes, if you're like, there's an element outside of the sinister quality of these two characters and the conversations they're having. You do look at this other side of it where I'm like, he gives this guy so much dignity. Like as far as like being somebody who's visiting somebody in a wheelchair who can't speak and everything, he treats him fully like an equal, and it's sort of endearing, even though it's such a weird circumstance what they're talking about.
And of course, Norberto, you have it's far from unique, but you have a wonderful advantage directing those scenes because you're a Spanish speaker.
Yeah, I have to say, I felt that it gave me a better understanding of them, and it was an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And one thing that I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but Norberto and I were actually at USC Film School at the same time. We went to film school together.
Oh, really?
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Absolutely.
Did you guys do each other's student films?
No,
we did. No, we didn't. I don't think we knew each other very well.
No, we know a big circle that we know everybody else, and yeah,
we were like ships passing in the night until now.
On the way.
The attendant that offers Hector his Fizzy K is the lovely Patrick Gozer, who is part of the improv troupe in Albuquerque, at the Box Performance Space, they do a show called The Show. And if anybody has not seen this improv troupe, you must go. They are great.
And we've used so many folks from the box on the show,
Yeah.
and oftentimes my regret is that I wish we hadn't used that person already in this other small role, because I'd love to have them back and do more for us.
Yeah, they're really great.
We love the vibe between these two actors, Jonathan
Yes, really, really do.
and the daughter,
Yep.
the granddaughter. She was very comfortable with him.
I bet you
Yeah.
know more than you think you know.
I do?
Mm-hmm. You remember when we watched the Super Bowl?
I love the shot you guys added with the sun.
Yeah, everything starts out very nicely.
It certainly does. And that's Juliet Dunnenfeld, who is, for better or for worse, not our first Kaylee. We've been shooting these two shows now for 13 years. So I guess probably the original Kaylee, I've lost touch with her, but she probably she's probably a college student, or she may have graduated already.
Wow.
So you think the kicker missed?
It's interesting because my daughter was, I think 7 when I started working on Breaking Bad, and when we cast the original Kaylee, it definitely had her in mind, and now she's like, I'm sure Kaylee, she's in college, so there you go.
Mm.
Thank you.
Yeah, he
Jonathan is such a amazing actor to watch. There's so much confidence in his understanding of what is going on, and there's nothing put on other than him just being present. And I think that is such mastery, to just be enough, to just trust that your understanding of something and your intuition, your belief in something is enough. You don't have to add anything to the moment. And I've learned so much working with him and watching him work.
make sure those are nice and even.
He said something that interested me once. He said he prefers acting for the camera. He certainly is
To being on stage?
To being on stage. He's a master of knowing exactly. It's interesting because there's an art and a science to acting, and I can't even begin to understand exactly how you guys do what you do.
No, you're not.
He likes to read lines. With Banks, the way I usually work with him is he'll just pull me aside while they're setting up the lights, and he'll just read it, and then automatically it's kind of weird. You start just by reading it to each other and bouncing back and forth. You start to get a rhythm, and then he'll just look at you and sort of nod that he's heard it enough, and that's it. That's as much as we prepare, and then we shoot it.
Well, you guys are very musical together. You've done a lot of scenes together, and there's something about the rhythm of you two guys playing these two characters. It's very special.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
Juliet, the young actress playing Kaylee too, I found it so remarkable that when you get a good, very young actor or actress who can read a really good line read, they can't always change how they say their line according to their scene partner, actually be present. And Juliet could. If Mike pivoted in a line read and did it this way or that way, she'd pivot too. She stayed very much with him, and I thought it was extremely impressive for her age.
Yeah, I agree. She felt very alive and responsive.
Yeah, she didn't come with a set idea of here's how I did my lines in my hotel and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would love to give a shout out to Sasha, Morgan, Spencer, and Adrian, who play all the younger guest stars on our show. I'm sure Ray can also kind of have that similar experience. One of the hardest things you can do as an actor is be a guest star on a show that's already established and kind of be the new person in.
Right.
Be called on a Monday or Tuesday and just have to deliver in a rhythm where everybody, the camera, the actors, everybody's been doing it for years. And those guys came in and were such pros and were so brought in so much. When guest stars do their job well, they raise the whole episode, and the energy on the show just kind of has this freshness to it. And those guys all of them were so great.
They were
and
great.
Fun to work with, yeah.
And it's super hard, whether you're showing up to do a monologue or a giant scene, or you're showing up to ask, like, do you want more coffee? It's really hard to just step on a set that's already a working machine that's in process and act now, go.
Yeah, it's actually harder, I find, when there's a conversation and you have one line. It's so much harder.
It's super hard to not
being
do it
like
too
talking
much
for
or
2-3
too
pages,
little.
because you're kind of off. You're coming in off rhythm. It's like jazz. You're just, you gotta find where to come in, how to come in, and it's interesting. And of course, all these guys, and a big shout out to Max Arcianiga, who plays Crazy 8. His work in Breaking Bad, to me, when I started watching Breaking Bad, blew me away. That scene between him and Bryan Cranston, where he had the bike lock on his neck, was really, 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 for me. I just started Breaking Bad. I watched it and I thought, what a great scene! What a great actor he was.
He is, and he has a different rhythm than, like, I love that all the characters have their own individual rhythm. It's not like there's some monolith of cartel people. They're very individualized, and and I appreciate so much the little nuances that are written for them, as well as what all of these actors bring to their stuff.
Yeah, they're great, and we had so much fun with most of these guys. We'd hang out on the weekends and stuff when everyone was in town, and we had a lot of great memories with all these guys.
Yeah. Alison, was it fun writing, like, where Crazy 8 came from, the name?
Yes, that was very gratifying, I will say. It was fun. This scene looks amazing.
That was your idea too, as I recall. We hadn't talked about it at all. And you put that in the script, and I thought it was great.
Well, Peter, when he was originally called as a character in Breaking Bad, like, what did you guys think it meant?
That's a good question. Vince named him in the pilot. And I don't think I ever gave it a bit of thought. But now we know.
We had talked about for a while, like, what does it come from? What should we do? How should it go? And there happened to be numbers on playing cards, so I just had a moment of revelation, and Peter was very supportive, so that was nice.
I always thought it was the black ball in the pool.
It's a nice little Easter egg, because you don't notice it until you watch it again.
Mark, were you behind figuring out this freaking duct thing and getting the meth to come down?
Yeah. Yes, I was.
Yeah, this was a tricky
problem. That looks like it would be extremely problematic.
It was entertaining, because we had to make sure that it worked both for the interior and exterior sets, and how the rough blockings worked up inside and then outside, and
because that interior is a set and the exterior is a real building, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
That was a very cool set. I came the day you guys were shooting in there.
Yeah, Mark did a great job in melding the exterior with the interior and creating an interior with multi foreground and background and midground elements that you can shoot through, and it was a great set.
Yeah, I know I know it's worked out when people walk in and don't want to touch anything.
Wait, why? Why is that?
Because it felt
was
like
so
it was
nasty.
grimy.
Oh, that's awesome.
These are real SWAT guys.
Oh, they are?
These guys are the real deal, right? Yeah, right, Peter?
I believe. Norberto would know. I think we got some real police officers in there.
Yes, we did. We got some of the lead guys leading the guys is real.
Yeah, they're great, man.
And what about this stuff in the car? Is that also shot at the same location?
It's at the same location, but inside a tent, because it was still daylight. And
this is daytime?
Well, we had to shoot this stuff at the location earlier, so that we could have all night to do all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so we shot
I
the wide
see.
shots of the car and outside, but all the coverage was inside a tent. And then we took the tent away and then continued the scene.
I love it. I love it.
And then remember, we had to do pickups with the car, and the car had suffered a catastrophic incident.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was destroyed sometime between the time we shot the original episode.
There he goes.
Michael, what are you doing?
This is
Michael
Victor.
Mando, what are you doing?
Victor Lopez is the guy. He's a parkour guy who owns a parkour kind of school called Tempest. He was amazing. I remember watching him do this and being scared for my life. And then we realized that this guy could jump this and then like way more, and it kind of put everybody at ease. He really jumped.
I don't know. You're such an athlete, Michael. I believe you could. You probably, if insurance had let us, I bet you could have done it.
I wanted to, I really did. I really wanted to. I thought, it'd be interesting to try it, and they had boxes under, and I thought, why not see if I could do this? But I think it would have cost too much money if I was to fall.
No, it would have cost me had to have a heart attack. That would not have been good.
This is a set. That's a set.
Look at
right,
this
Mark?
set.
You've
It's amazing.
built this. Yeah, this is not the building. This is a set on stage.
Fantastic work by the scenic department.
So great.
Yeah, this is outside. Like, this is the real building, and this is a set. All that is a set. All that is fake. That's cardboard walls and stuff.
And explain the trick, you guys, how it looks like he's falling out, but
I'm just
it's an
kneeling.
illusion.
Yeah, it's just a camera trick. The camera just catches the hands, and I literally jump probably like 30 inches, and I have to like hide.
Yeah. That was a Barba Mando special.
Yeah, it's not as heroic as it looks.
Ignacio Verga.
Yeah, we talked about this, showing
It
the
was-
drugs.
Yes, I was just going to say it was Michael's idea to show the trophy at the end there, which I thought was really cool.
It was like a cat bringing a mouse
Right?
to the person that was feeding it, or whose livelihood depended on it, and left the mouse in front of the door. It's kind of, I think that was the idea, right, Alison? That we were talking about.
I remember you said that at the time.
Yeah, show the mouse, show the little bird.
Bill.
He's great. That actor is so funny.
Peter DeSath.
I love him.
He's so
He's
funny.
awesome.
I could watch Peter go to vending machines all day long.
He should have a
he needs
spin-off.
his own show.
There
Yeah,
we go.
absolutely.
Now, Norberto, you've got to talk about
Yeah.
this shot, Norberto.
Yeah.
Well, and I noticed you guys did some pickups, but it was designed as a oneer because we want to show how chaotic and everything was, and yet how in control he is, and that he's running his whole day pretty much, and so we're going with him, and you really get that sense.
All right, let's see.
And I like the way it turned out. I actually like the little pickups you did throughout that really punched up the story.
And just to be clear, so this was this sequence is mostly just one long shot with a hidden cut, but it's and Norberto, you and the cast and our camera crew did a fantastic job. We just decided to shorten it up a little bit. That was what and which seems to always happen with these oneers. We had a oneer back in an earlier season, this epic one that went over the border.
Yeah.
And even that one we ended up shortening up just a little bit. And it's just so much fun, and Bob is so on, and it's just fun to see how he's going about his business here.
Cool score also, Dave Porter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dave's awesome.
I don't think we realized that there was going to be music there. I think that was his idea, and Dave is a drummer, and he is great.
There's a shot.
Congratulations. You're back in the saddle.
Yeah.
I love the registering the clothes.
Yeah, that's me.
How's business?
You know, I've always found Howard Hamlin since the first episode. I've always found him likable. I've always liked his character. I've always felt Patrick just brings so much of himself to it, you know, and I feel Patrick is such a likable guy, and I've always liked the character of Hamlin. I've always felt
well, I love
rational.
Patrick Fabian, but as Kim Wexler, I do not enjoy Howard Hamlin.
Really? I feel he's fair. I always felt he was fair, you know?
How is he fair when he puts me in doc review after I'm the one that snagged the client? How is that fair?
I know. I'm still mad about doc review too.
I don't remember that. I'm sorry. I'm just... I don't remember. I just remember the whole thing with Chuck, you know, how the character was always dignified in his friendship and was trying to create and I mean, at least from how I remember it, was trying to create a sort of rapport and a bridge with the mourning of the brothers and all that kind of stuff.
We love Julie Pearl, who plays Susanna Erickson.
Julie Pearl, I just love. She's so much fun.
And now Nacho's in charge here. This is just this is pretty nice.
Can Tony actually cook?
This is a good question. I was going to ask
They smell
that.
great. I can tell you that. They really smell good. And when I think this is the first time I eat on the show, and they tasted great. But I think Nacho was so afraid for his life that he didn't taste anything.
Well, talk about eating in a scene. What's that like, Michael? Does that change things?
No, I come from theater and I love props. I love movement. I love dialogue. And the challenge of Nacho is it strips away everything that you used to interact with in the world. There's a lot of stillness. There's a lot of standing in the desert where there's nothing to lean on, nothing to sit on, nothing to touch or to move. And the interactions are so sort of cerebral and calculated. And that to me was, I think, the biggest challenge of the character in the first maybe 2 seasons. I think it's so much easier to move, to touch, to be able to interact with the world. But it's a great challenge. It's kind of like a Western. A lot of the cartel stuff sometimes feels like Westerns.
That's so true. Now, Norberto, we talked about guest actors on shows, but you're a guest director. This was the first episode that you directed for us on either show. What was that like? What's it like going? And you've done. And by the way, I said we went to film school together. You've done so much more than I have in my career. You have quite a track record. What's it like to go to a new show, or our show in particular?
Well, I tell you, even though through all these years, it's a little nerve-wracking in many ways because you're coming to someone else's house and you want to do the best job possible. You want everyone to like you, and I'm shy by nature, so it takes a little bit. And yet, what I'm driven by, the people who set up the culture of that particular show. And they're driven by the story, the characters, and how everyone works as a team. And in this case, it was like butter. So I got there, and not only did I feel so welcomed, but I felt that everyone was going for the same thing. It was really everything. All the decisions were organically came from story and character. And as a guest director, it's refreshing to go somewhere where there's a collaboration to create the best story possible, and I felt it in this situation.
And you brought it too, Norberto, because I can say from the writer point of view, it can be a little nerve-wracking too. You're put into a very intensive collaborative process with a complete stranger. And I felt immediately, and it was true all throughout, that you were just so great to work with and bringing your own talents and open to collaborating. And also your experience was felt and appreciated.
Well, thank you. I was bold. And then just the cast, Ray and Bob and Michael and Tony, everybody, they have great instincts, and they really were also driven by story. And so it was a wonderful give and take.
Well, you were wonderful. You came extremely prepared. Like I could pick up a conversation about the character's arc on the page that I was on. It wasn't like I had to backtrack. You were so prepared and so passionate about the stories that each of us were trying to tell individually in our little micro universes that we're trying to track.
And good-natured. Always a plus.
Thank you.
Do they tell you, so as a guest director, do they tell you like, hey, this actor has this kind of process and this actor has this kind of process, or are you trying to learn that on the set?
Well, no, I mean, through the tone meetings and all the conceptual meetings, Peter would give me the ins and outs of what works best and how the process is different with different actors and also with the crew. And then it's an experiential sort of learning curve in terms of personality and how one will jive with that, you know? You know, again, it has to be an organic, not pushed situation. Also in terms of personality and connection, you know?
I love this scene.
Yeah, Bob is very funny in this scene, and Julie's such a great straight man.
Yeah, Mark, how is it that you guys are shooting inside a real elevator?
Yeah, Mark, I was going to ask you, is this in the elevator or?
Well, it's kind of not a real elevator. What we had to do, because the scene is so lengthy, and we certainly didn't want to limit Norberto in any way, we built a set piece and matched it as closely as we possibly could to the courthouse. And I have to say, having seen the cut, I think we did a pretty decent job. All of the walls could be pulled out. The ceiling was removable. So
it's a great job.
You could achieve whatever angle you thought of within that little box.
And it had to jostle.
And it did. It was on a sprung floor, so you could feel the movement when it started and stopped. The doors opened and closed. You could enter and exit it, and still believe you were on the location.
Were the shoes? Was it written in the script that she removes her shoes?
It was. In fact, they gave her a petty.
That's such a beautiful, beautiful touch.
I love that.
It describes passage of time and an intimacy between the characters. It's such a small. It seems small, but it's such a great choice.
20 minutes. Norberto, I think all the film students who are watching this should rewind and watch how you make the transition from the real elevator to the set piece and vice versa. Keeping in mind those are different days. It's just very elegantly done, very elegantly shot.
And the actors carry that because it was in different days, and they bringing out the same energy they left with.
Makes all the difference. It's amazing how much of a difference that makes.
And they rehearse. I mean, Ray, of course, knows that.
We all do incessantly.
Yeah, and the guest actors as well.
And every time we shoot in that courtroom, I always forget what a pain in the ass it is to not show any of the equipment in those marble reflective walls.
Yeah.
That's the first time I see Bob in 5 years.
That's
Yes.
right.
It's the first time, yeah. Since episode 2, season 1.
Right, Michelle McLaren's episode.
Mark, you were saying something?
Oh, it's remarkable how large Norberto made that courthouse.
Yeah.
It was like
Because it sure isn't.
Yeah, it's interesting how little there is to it. That's true.
Yeah. Bob really loves chocolate mint ice cream.
Yeah.
In real life. Yeah.
He loves ice cream.
He did.
We got the idea for having him with his ice cream cone because he had an idea to do that for a piece of key art, one of the earlier seasons. This is, again, Norberto, I love the bookends you did here. It's so much fun.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Really satisfying.
Wonderful work, Norberto. Beautiful.
So
Alison,
great.
Beautiful episode, yeah. Beautiful work, guys.
Great.
Applause.
Great
Yay.
script, guys,
Woo!
and the acting is so great.
It is.
was a fun episode. What a great ending for an episode 2.
Yeah.
And then we get to see what that ice cream cone goes through.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the way this season came out, I have to say.
I am too. It's really fun to watch it.
Love it.
All right.
Love
Nice.
it. Yay!
Congratulations.